Hi, I'm Thurmond. I played Destiny too much, and I want to give my thoughts on the game at the moment, and why I feel like my favorite game no longer exists. First off, I want to say I'm not a YouTuber. I don't want to be a YouTuber. I just felt a need to get my feedback out there, so that hopefully the game that I love might return someday. Is it in vain, I think that feeling is. I'm well aware that most people giving feedback to games and giving suggestions usually falls on deaf ears, so I'm just going to go into the feeling of playing the game at the moment. I think that's more important to the developers than anything else right now, especially considering the feelings around the game are at an all-time low. A little bit of backstory on how much I played the game and my history with the game. I started with D2. I never played D1. I never had a console that could play D1. So when D2 was announced to come to PC, I jumped on it because I'd always been vaguely interested in the series. I just couldn't play it. And while I enjoyed D2 for what it was at the time, I wasn't really into it at launch. I ended up coming back around the time of Black Armory and have been playing it nonstop ever since. The only season in the last 5 years that I never played was Season of the Worthy, and if you played Season of the Worthy, I don't think you'd blame me for skipping it. From the get-go, I was an avid raider. Leviathan was my first raid ever, and it was mind-blowing to me at the time. I'd never experienced anything like it. And when I got back into the game for Black Armory, I immediately started raiding with the people that I knew. I had a couple of friends that played Destiny, and through that, I met more people, and I've been playing almost non-stop since then, all the way through to Final Shape and even some of the episodes. It was around the time of the episodes that my feelings towards the game started to drastically change. After the final shape, I was riding a high that I hadn't felt in years. The last time I had felt this good about an expansion was probably the Witch Queen. It was a feeling that I had sorely missed, and I'd hoped that I'd be able to continue riding the feeling into the future so I could continue playing the game that I loved. The layoffs that came shortly after Final Shape's launch really put a dampening in my mood towards the studio, and that did not help my feelings toward the game at all. Around the time of the second episode, episode Revenant, I started to feel uncomfortable, like something wasn't quite right. The gameplay that I'd always enjoyed and the characters that I always enjoyed were doing things and they were vaguely interesting, so why wasn't I enjoying myself? I think this growing feeling of animosity toward the game is rooted in two things. The largest reason, and I know people are sick and tired of hearing people complain about this, but sunsetting. Regardless of the consumer rights issues with sunsetting content that people paid for, including me, I feel as though sunsetting has impacted my ability to enjoy the game on a fundamental level. I love video games. I've loved video games since I was a small child when I first got my Game Boy Advance, and I started playing Pokemon on it way back when I was in middle school. I think one of the biggest strengths of video games is that they are an experience that you can play. And while I know most other media is also an experience, I think video games are fundamentally different in one specific way. It is an experience that you actively participate in. Sitting down and listening to your favorite piece of music is nice, and watching movies can be very relaxing, but something about video games just feels a little bit more. Like the experience is something more profound, more personal to you every time you do it. And because the majority of video games are what they are, you can go back and re-experience those whenever you want. There are games from my childhood that I go back and play occasionally, and I can enjoy them the same way that I did when I was a kid, even though I'm an adult. Much like how my dad goes back and listens to the oldies that he enjoyed when he was a kid, I can go back and play the games that I played when I was a kid and re-experience those times through the medium that I choose. But I can't do that with Destiny 2. I can't go back and play the game that I fell in love with. And while I do think most of the changes that have happened to Destiny 2 over the years are positive, that doesn't change the fact that I can't go and replay things again in the way that I remember them. I hear so many content creators who played D1 being like, oh, you don't remember how bad it was back in D1. You should go experience it for yourself. Well, I wish I could experience my first time playing Destiny, but I can't. A lot of D1 vets' first raid was the Vault of Glass. I can never experience my first raid ever again because it was Leviathan. A fundamental beginning point on my enjoyment of Destiny 2 is something I can never experience again, and that makes me feel very sad. I think media in general is strong and memorable because we can experience things again. You can listen to your favorite songs or watch your favorite movie as many times as you want as far in the future as you still own it. For as flawed as it was, I can't go back and experience D2 again. I can never experience the original Destiny experience that I fell in love with ever again. The more time passes, the more I wish we had just gotten Destiny 3 instead of Beyond Light, and after the final shape, we currently would be on Destiny 4. But we don't live in that timeline. And I don't think going in the quarters of time is going to fix this one. And on top of not being able to experience the game that I initially fell in love with, all of the memories in between are also for the most part gone. Yes, the major expansions are still there, but the majority of the actual story content that I enjoyed is not playable anymore. I can never experience discovering Crow in the Tangled Shore and breaking Spider's control over him. I can never experience us allying with Mithrax finally after so many years, a character that I had been anticipating would be part of the story since D2 Vanilla. And I can never experience the delight of finally getting to meet Saint 14, the legendary Titan, and being able to help him push through his own self-doubt. So many moments that, while you can watch them online as a clip, I can no longer experience the video game as a video game. I can experience it as a movie instead. To me, this feels like if the only way you could experience your favorite movie was reading a script instead of watching the movie itself. Except it's only parts of the script, and a lot of the moments that you enjoyed aren't in the script because the pages were burned somewhere, I guess. All of my rambling aside, the point I'm trying to make is unless some talented group of modders somehow finds the code and was able to reconstruct D2 Vanilla, or at least somewhere around the time Shadowkeep launched, I can never revisit the game I fell in love with ever again. The characters continue on doing things, but at this point I see them and I just feel sad. That is the most fundamental issue that I have with the game at the moment. And that isn't something that they can easily fix, but it is something that they can learn from and hopefully mend for future generations of Guardians. Now I'm going to actually start to talk about the game itself and not just my feelings around the game as a whole. I feel like this shift between Destiny being a world and becoming just a bunch of activities we can do is overall a negative. One of my fondest memories from early on back in Forsaken was my friends telling me, hey, there's a secret activity in the Dreaming City we can go do. Here, I'll lead you to it. And I can still remember the way to get to Shattered Throne by walking there to this day. Being able to go and walk to the Forge activities was another thing that, while time consuming, it made you feel like you were part of the world itself. Even Pit of Heresy, even though you couldn't launch it directly from the moon, it started in a place you could remember, so you could feel like you were progressing and exploring the world itself. Now, most dungeons load you into a completely new space at the get-go, and they feel completely detached from everything else. And while that's really convenient, it makes them feel more like a coaster or like some ride you see at a fair and not an experience that's part of a whole. I know Bungie wants player attention. Well, make us walk to our destinations. Make us feel like we're in our world and traverse it. That's one of the reasons so many people love, like, early World of Warcraft. I never played that personally, but I've heard a lot of people sing praises about it. And I know a lot of people will hear that and say, oh, that's not convenient. That's just a waste of time. What's the point? The point is, I think that was a large part of the whimsy and wonder that came with the world. You never knew when you were out on patrol if you could come across something completely unique that you'd never seen before. Now the only real point of going out on patrol is so that you can get your 10 bear asses so that you can get your reward for the week. Speaking of rewards, oh boy. I'm gonna preface this by saying I have not bought Edge of Fate, I have not played it, but I have logged on to see what they have done with the changes, and oh boy. We told them we missed the grind, and holy hell they put it back. I think they've gone way too far in the other direction, to the point where they just put grind in for grind's sake, and not a grind that people want to do. The parallel grind in Edge of Fate feels like if I were to go to a restaurant to have a nice meal, and they gave me a glass of water, and I was like, hey, can I have a soda? And it's like, sorry, you need to drink 10 glasses of water before you can have a soda. I saw that they made the parallel grind a prerequisite for being able to play specific activities on certain difficulties, and as a Conqueror 13, I didn't redo my Conqueror for Heresy because I stopped playing the game at that point. Playing the hard activities is what kept me playing the game, and now I'm forced to go listen to Saint 14 and Anna Bray talk to each other in generic dialogue just so I can go and do what I want. And guess what? It'll take you like 3 weeks to get there. Have fun, kiddo. I will say I am a fan of the weapon tier system. I think being able to get better versions of the gear from higher level activities is nice. I just wish I could go do that without needing to run a triathlon first. I want to grind for god rolls, not number go up. The number that I care about is my damage output, not my power level. Power level at this point is literally just a stop sign to prevent you from doing what you want to do and get what you want. I don't mind working hard to get things. Hell, I grinded for Adept so hard back in the day. I have so many Adept weapons in my vault from both Nightfalls and Master Raids. I am not opposed to doing hard content to earn rewards. I am opposed to having to do 10 laps around the block before I'm allowed to enter the gym. And at this point, with my animosity toward the game, those laps aren't worth it. I have a bunch of other more specific complaints, more so around like individual balancing and like Titan class as a whole, which is my main. Like how they went from Titans being the soldier class, the bulwark, into being unga bunga punch shit for like 4 years, and they haven't deviated from that much since. It just feels like the devs are either too scared to deviate from what they know, or don't know what to do with Titan otherwise. Or some upper manager just really likes punching shit, I guess, I don't know. So those are my thoughts on the game generally at the moment. I hope most of it was coherent. I've never done a video like this before. In fact, I don't think I've ever made a video where I just talk about something before. So thanks for listening. And for anyone still enjoying Destiny, I hope you're enjoying it. I really do. I don't have any ill will toward anyone still enjoying the game. In fact, most of my friends are still playing. They're going on to the day one without me for the first time in 4 years. I just I can't bring myself to enjoy this game anymore. I can't force it.